Hi. Canada's federal election campaign is almost over, but not necessarily the drama, but might just yet be beginning. As the campaign winds down, I am with Star Ottawa Bureau Chief and Senior Reporter Tonda MacCharles to unpack these final days, the political mood, and what could be coming next for Canada's leaders, and most importantly, for you, the voters. Hi, Tonda.
Hey, Saba, how are you?
I'm good. How's the campaign? You've covered a lot of them. So what's feeling different on the ground for you and, anything behind the scenes, any tea that we should know?
All right, it's been a weird campaign, first of all, because we're out in a limited fashion. My team is covering this in a limited fashion on the ground, but it's also difficult in some respects to cover, for example, the Conservative campaign, because it's hard to catch up to that leader. But for me, for an election campaign that all the political party leaders have said is the most consequential of our lifetime, that there's been no defining Kodak moment that crystallized everything. I find that interesting. Sometimes some election campaigns, it's an ad. Back when the free trade election, it was, the liberals are racing out the border between Canada and US. And, that might be a good ad to run actually in this campaign. But there's been no ad. There was no debate moment that just captured the zeitgeist. I mean, there's a couple of things maybe like the energy of the Pierre Poilievre rallies has been quite something to watch. We'll see if it translates into votes. The kind of strange, boring persona of Mark Carney in these rallies he's doing, is also kind of like it's funny to watch that he excites anybody because he's quite a boring speaker. But then there's like that one woman who hollered out, lead us, Big Daddy. I
And
mean,
it's trending on TikTok.
it's so weird. I mean, but maybe that's the zeitgeist of the Liberal campaign. I don't know. We'll see.
So in these final days of the campaign, what have the party leaders been up to? Any last minute change in tactics, any last minute pitches?
Not really. I mean, the Liberals have rolled out more ads in the final days. But look, the Liberals are on offense. They're aggressively going into opposition held ridings where they think they can flip them. The NDP is very much in save the furniture mode. They're ditching some places they had planned to go to in favor of places where they need to seal the deal. They need to get seats. They need to save Matt Green and Hamilton. They need to get, they're going to seats they need to hold. The Conservatives, on the other hand, it's interesting. Pierre Poilievre hasn't been in Saskatchewan in the whole 2 years. Well, once in the whole 2 years since he's been leader. He went there this week. He's basically trying to hold because the Liberals seem to, for the first time in years, be poised to win a seat in Saskatchewan. They haven't held a seat in Saskatchewan since, I don't know if you remember, Ralph Goodale, another lovely man but boring speaker. That was his secret superpower. Since he left, there hasn't been a Liberal in Saskatchewan. So, this is, in some respects, it's very interesting. But no, the messages have stayed the same. Pierre Poilievre is drilling on the need for change. The Liberals are drilling on the need for Mark Carney as the guy to stand up to Trump. And at this point, actually, Jagmeet Singh, I suppose you could say, is now appealing to voters to help him save official party status in the House of Commons so they can hold the balance of power and make sure that ordinary people aren't, adversely affected by what they view as a very right-wing liberal leader.
Let's talk a little bit about what Canada's political temperature is right now, what the campaign says about that. Did you get the sense that people are voting for something, towards something, or they're voting against something?
Look, if campaigns are often about hope or fear or change versus stability, this one seems to be kind of a weird amalgam. People are afraid of what Trump's going to do. So a lot of the vote has been driven by who they think is the best person to stand up to Donald Trump. A lot of the polls suggest that voters have made up their minds that's Carney. However, Trump stopped talking in a lot of this campaign about 51st state. So then the ballot question swung back to cost of living, affordability concerns. That's the game that the Poilievre conservatives are appealing on. And we have seen this narrowing, tightening of polls. But guess what? Donald Trump started talking in the last day and a half, 2 days, telling Time magazine right now he'd happily be an American president who wouldn't mind expanding its territory, and saying he's not trolling Canada on the 51st state stuff. So who knows where that goes and how it plays in the next 3 days.
Right. And tariffs, in a way, are also connected to the cost of living as well. So it all kind of ties
Yeah.
together. So come Monday night, someone's going to win. But what happens next? What should we be watching for in the coming days, in the coming weeks? Are we going to wake up on Tuesday morning and everything will have changed miraculously?
Look, we're going to wake up on Tuesday morning, and there's a number of possibilities that I think people really have to look for. I mean, if the Liberals do win, do they win a minority or a majority? They're in better shape if they win a majority. Obviously, if they win a minority, who do they govern with? And what concessions do they have to make? The very next question arises that if Poilievre does not succeed in holding the Liberals to a minority or winning a minority government himself, because majority does not look in the cards for him, does he survive? Does his leadership survive? Same with Jagmeet Singh. Does Jagmeet Singh retain official party status for the NDP? They're at 24 seats when we dissolved. I mean, if they only get 10 seats out of this campaign, his leadership is very much in jeopardy. So we could be looking at either for sure, one leadership race potentially in the offing, potentially another one if the calls outside the Conservatives really go after Pierre Poilievre. But very surely, whoever wins the election campaign on Monday is going to be thrust into very high stakes trade talks with a very unpredictable Donald Trump. And that's going to be the big story of the next several months, politically for Canada, economically, which will matter for a lot of ordinary Canadians across the board.
Well, thank you so much for that insight in your time, Tonda.
Thanks,
And
Saba.
And that's all we have for you here, but you can listen to the more detailed audio version of this interview on This Matters wherever you get your podcasts. And please do support the work that we do by subscribing to thestar.com, where you can also read Tonda's articles and the Star's in-depth rolling coverage of the election. We're always trying to keep you posted on what you need to know. I'm Saba Eitizaz. Thank you for watching.